Okay, so let's have a look at safety. Most of our topics are going to include some form of safety, and in electrical there is a few unique things that you have to watch out for. However, if you're working as a mechanic and you're doing technical things on engines and transmissions, you are still going to have the same issues with electrical safety. So this applies straight across the board. Alright, so first things first, let's cover this one. One that you all know by now, I would expect, is we need to be wearing some safety clothing. We need to make sure that we're wearing the appropriate clothing so that we can keep ourselves safe. So that whether that be cotton drill shirt, a pair of long cotton drill pants, whether you have overalls, whatever it is that you wear, that's what you've got to be wearing. Next one, and you find this one a lot. Safety glasses. Now, I know that not all of you wear safety glasses in your workshops. I know that some of your workshops absolutely insist on it, and you are not allowed to go out of the office until you have these on. These are an absolute crucial piece of equipment. They really do stop things getting into your eyes. Even if you haven't got them mandated in your workshops, it's really worth wearing them anyway. If you don't have them, a rule to say that you have to wear them all the time in your workshop, that's okay. Keep them nearby and just make sure that you're using them when you're underneath vehicles, if you're doing any form of cutting, hammering, even using air tools. You're going to want to make sure that you're wearing a pair of these. And then, of course, the thing that the last bit that to finish off the safety is we need to be making sure, I have to go around the other way. We need to be making sure that we are wearing a good pair of safety boots. Now, I've got another pair just down here. Okay. Two pair of boots. They're leather. They smell. Two pair of boots. They're both leather. They've both got good soles on them. This one's obviously a lace-up type. This one's the elasticated version. It doesn't really matter. The bit that actually makes a difference is this bit. Now, I'm not sure about you. I know we have issues at times where things fall on our feet and it seems like it always seems to fall on this bit up here. Well, these things down here, they can break really easily. That's your toes. So imagine having something come down here. Once again, you don't want that happening on that. Just in case you're not sure, got a pair of that's your toes when something heavy falls on them. And starter motors can be really heavy. They're a large lump, and when they come down, man, if they come down on your toes, I don't fancy the chances of your toes. Steel toe caps. I think you can see the difference in that, guys. I know which boot I'd rather be wearing. That one every time. Yes, I might have a little bit of an ache up the top here, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be way better than having broken toes. Haven't had a broken toe, thankfully, because I wear boots a lot of the time. Having said that, my wife managed to break her toe. She managed to do it just by kicking something. If I remember, I think it was a door. She kicked the door and managed to break her toe, and she was in agony for weeks. So it's not a good idea. I'd rather be wearing a pair of these. Okay. Next part in our safety. We need to look at the special tools we're using. So, special tools. We are going to be using, potentially, one of these. Just going to log in because it's logged out in the time that I was talking about boots. We are going to be using a scan tool. So scan tools allow us to plug into a computer. They allow us to diagnose, get fault codes out, run tests on our systems. These are really handy. However, you've got to bear in mind that we are going into different circuits of the vehicle. As well as that, we are going to be using a multimeter. And again, with the multimeter, we are going to be connecting into the vehicle's electrics. We are going to be having a look at some of the high voltage or high current systems. And we've really got to remember that when we're going into those type of systems, we've got to make sure we're using the right type of multimeter. We need to have it on the right settings. And obviously we don't want to be shorting out the systems as well, not just for our own safety, but also for the safety of our equipment. So we've got to be watching out for that. Now, there are specialist equipment, as well as the specialist equipment. This is a cracking spanner. This is a what they call a propeller spanner. It's snap-on. It's a 17-19 mil. It's nice and long. You can get a great bit of leverage on it. However, here is a chrome vanadium spanner. This one's a 22 mil. Not that it's necessarily important. Here's the important part. Both of these spanners conduct electricity. Electricity. Doesn't matter whether you're using a snap-on, whether you're using the cheapest spanner you can find. Both of them, if you connect them up to the starter or if you short out the battery, both ways are going to give you a lot of problems. So be very careful when using just your general hand tools, as well as managing to plug into some of the vehicle electrics. So, last thing to talk about then. We also have our safety equipment. We are using our specialized tools. We're making sure we're following the manufacturer's guidelines, either of the tools or the vehicle. And we're making sure that we're only using approved equipment. If any of our equipment isn't in good condition, we're going to throw that away. The last thing that we just need to talk about, and I'm just having a look to make sure we cover it, we need to be aware of two things. This is going to be in your assessment, so it's worth getting this, sort of getting this an understanding of this. We have high voltage ignition systems on petrol vehicles. We also have high voltage injectors on our electronic diesel systems. Both of them could give us quite a nasty shock if we were to touch them while they're running. You know, many of you may have touched a HT lead while a petrol engine's running and managed to get yourself a shock. That can obviously give us a problem, particularly if you are holding onto a wire in this hand and holding onto the chassis or something metal in this hand, and the electric manages to go across your heart. We don't want it to interfere with our heart. So we need to make sure that we're very careful with what we're touching and also what we're probing with. So that's high voltage ignition systems and high voltage injector systems. So be aware of them. The other thing is high current. So I'm just working on here, just looking on here, wearing, and here we go, guys. This thing here. So this one's a chain, goes around your wrist. This one here obviously goes around your finger. Both of these, if you were to be working on a starting system, for example, and you were to put your hand down where the power cables are, where the positive cables are, and you manage to short that between the positive cable and an earth, maybe the body of a starter motor, maybe the engine, electricity is going to pass through that. And when it does, it's going to get really hot. As it gets hot, it's going to start burning what actually sits underneath of it. So you need to be really aware of what this does. I haven't worn my wedding ring. You can tell there's no shape there. I haven't worn my wedding ring basically actually since I got married, just because of the job that I do. The same as these sort of things, chains, necklaces. Be aware of any jewellery like that where electricity can pass through it and heat up because it will give you serious burns. So, they're the three things. We need to be aware of our personal items. We need to be aware of our specialised tools and what we use how we use them. And we also need to be aware of the high voltage systems, the ignition and ejector systems. And we also need to be aware of our jewellery because of, and for this stuff, the high current that can run through it. Okay, guys, that is the end of the safety part. Now, below you've got some more information. There's also some more videos to actually highlight some of these dramas. I believe there's a guy with a sausage and a ring and doing some shorting stuff as well. Have a look at the videos, watch them through, and answer the questions in your workbook or answer the questions on the Moodle page. All right, guys, take it easy.